everybody, it's Ryan. Welcome back to How Farms Work. This video is going to be a little bit different. We are going to hop in the car and head to the UW-Platteville Pioneer Farm and meet up with Dr. Chuck Steiner, who is going to show us around the farm, give us a tour, talk about some of the studies that they're doing on the farm, as well as some of the technologies that they're utilizing. Now, this is kind of a bittersweet moment for me because when I was in college, I kind of always wanted to take my camera with me to class and to record some of the stuff that I was learning and share it with you all. So this is kind of cool that I get my own tour of the farm and I can share some of the stuff that they're doing on campus with you guys. So I've been saving this for this moment, but I'm ready to go. One of the common questions that I get asked is, what are some steps that you can take to start your own farm? And what are some of my own tips? So I've decided that I would utilize this video to share some of my own thoughts as well as my own experience. So about the biggest thing that I can recommend for all of you is to get experience. Now, this can be experience on a farm or even a co-op like I did. Now, the route that I went down is I went to a 4-year program. I went for ag business as well as a soil and crop science minor at UW-Platteville. Now, during my time at Platteville, I took many classes that helped me to this day, including some of my accounting classes and the like. They've really helped me with bookkeeping, my own stuff, figuring out inventory and keeping track of my inputs, my costs, and as well as what I'm making and if I'm making a profit. So I highly recommend going to a 4-year program like I did. One of the things that I commonly tell people is that there's a lot of stuff that you cannot learn on a farm that you can learn in the classroom. However, there is a lot of stuff that you can learn on a farm that you also cannot learn in the classroom. This is why I think it's important that UW-Platteville required an internship program in the course that I took. Yeah, I think that it really helped me get some insight. It really helped me meet a lot of people during my internship as well. And it really gets you out there and introduces you to a lot of local farmers in your area. Let's hop in the car and head to the Pioneer Farm. Now I'm sitting here with Dr. Chuck Steiner, and he's going to give us a tour of the farm, talk about it a little bit, and how long has the Pioneer Farm been running?
Yeah, so UW-Platteville Pioneer Farm on this site was purchased in 1957, and it had kind of the welcome and the grand opening in 1960. So there has been a farm at UW-Platteville for years prior to that. It was on campus, and then as campus expanded, they purchased this location. The original purchase was 400 acres. We're now at 430 with an additional 30 acres we've acquired since then. But we have 430 acres total here at the farm. All of them are right here in this area. 330 of that is tillable, about 60 acres of that is pasture, and the rest is buildings and improvements.
Okay, cool. So what kind of different operations are going on here?
So at Pioneer Farm we have 3 livestock units. We have our dairy enterprise, which right now we're milking about 180 cows through our dairy herd. We have a fair to finish swine operation, and then we have our own cow-calf beef herd of about 40 to 45 animals.
What is the goal of the Pioneer Farm as a part of UW-Platteville?
So really I say our mission is kind of like a 3-legged stool. We have 3 primary goals, and it's education, outreach, and research. So from an educational standpoint, I call Pioneer Farm a giant laboratory for our students in agriculture and our students across campus. So we serve as a working farm that also works with labs across our animal science, soil and crop science, and our other areas. On average, about 30 classes will use Pioneer Farm as a laboratory throughout the year, some on a regular basis, some not as often. So on a research side, we try to get as many students as we can involved in undergraduate research here at the farm. We have about 50 to 60 students that are employed here throughout the year, and then we have faculty and staff that engage those students in undergraduate research. And then finally, outreach. We've hosted the Lafayette County Dairy Breakfast a few years ago. We have an Ag Day on the Farm event that we host with the Platteville Area Chamber of Commerce and the Ag Tourism components. We host a day on the farm for 4th and 5th graders out here. So we try to do a lot of outreach events for the community as well.
What kind of crops do you guys raise, and what kind of rotations do you use?
Yep. So predominantly here at Pioneer Farm, we're a corn and alfalfa rotation. So we're on a 3-year crop rotation, corn and alfalfa. We do usually direct seed oats and harvest that as a forage the first year with our alfalfa. But all of our crops produced here at the farm are used for livestock feed, so we don't sell any of our crops. We predominantly produce corn silage for the dairy, and then high moisture or dry corn for other livestock units. And then we'll harvest usually our first and second cuttings as haylage or forages, and then we'll either do dry bales, large square bales, or wet wrap bales as well.
Well, what do you say we head out and do a quick tour?
Sounds good.
My first tip for you all is don't be afraid to start small. So by starting small, you're not going into nearly as much debt as you would be if you just went out and bought a farm and decided to start farming. There's a lot of things that you're going to have to take into consideration, and this is where I think getting experience on a farm is important. But there's also a lot of things in the classroom that can really help, such as figuring out accounting and math especially, as well as a lot of ag classes regarding business and things like how commodity prices go up and down. All those things are extremely important. So all those are water collecting stations?
Yeah, so you can see, and this used to be our hillside pasture that we just used for our dairy. Now it's into, I think it's 18 paddocks of about 3 acres per paddock or so, give or take. And so each one of the paddocks, not all of them, but several of the paddocks have these water monitoring stations in them so they can collect water and pasture runoff. So we're looking at both pasture quality as far as the forages that are there, and they've seeded some different things into some of the pastures to compare to what was already there. But yeah, so we can collect samples right here in these paddocks as they're rotationally grazed.
How many head of cattle can you have in this freestall?
So our freestall is 180 stalls, and right now we're milking around 170 to 180 cows in here. So we're in the process right now of installing 2 new robot Lely Astronaut A5 robots. And when we get those robots installed, we'll be milking about half of the herd through 2 robots and half through our parlor system.
So how do they know what path to take?
So it's GPS mapped.
Okay.
So they map a GPS to know right where it goes, and then based off of those GPS coordinates and its docking station where it charges itself, I think he's got it set right now on every hour. So every hour it'll basically make a pass and push up the feed to go back, charge itself, and then remove. The only times you have issues with it is in the winter. Sometimes in the winter, if it slips because of some ice at the end of the barn, it'll get off of its GPS signal, and then it can't work its way all the way back, and it's designed to shut itself down, and then it'll send a message to the phone for somebody to come just basically push a button and then work its way back to its charging station. But we used to have to rely on students to push up feed, and sometimes they didn't show up, and then we'd come in here and the feed wouldn't be pushed up. Now we know the Juno, unless something happens with the battery, it's going to keep the feed pushed up in front of the cows.
So I'm not too familiar with freestalls. Pretty much the only time I've really spent a lot of time in a freestall is here. So, well, these technologies like Juno back there is kind of fascinating to me.
Yeah.
So how is the manure managed?
So in here we have a chain manure scraper that on a regular basis it continues to scrape all the manure to the one end of the barn where it drops into a pit and then into a holding tank. When that holding tank fills, then the manure will be transferred from there underground to our manure separator facility. So there we have a manure separator that'll separate the solids from the liquids. So the solids are separated through our Borger screw press, and then those solids we use to compost with our bedded pack and our other manure, and then the liquid goes into our 3 million gallon lagoon and will stay there until after harvest or when we apply to our fields for nutrients. Just in the past year, as part of what we're trying to do for cow comfort here in the barn, we've installed all new mats throughout the barn for the dairy cattle to lay on. What we did this time is we replaced the old rubber mats and we actually put in what are called DCC water beds. So in 2 sections of our barn, we have mats that are actually filled with water. So as you can see, when the cows will lay down on these mats, they're actually laying on a bed of water, and it's supposed to help with both their feet and legs and cow comfort and cow health. And then in the other 2 corners of the barn, we put in some new prototype rubber mats as well. So we'll be able to do some comparisons, and the Dairy Innovation Hub here in the state has helped us provide some funding to install these new types of rubber cow mats and these water beds, and we're planning to do some research on them once we get the final installation done with the robots. Okay. We were really concerned when we first got them about, well, the cows that are traditionally have been in here, what will they think when they step onto a mat and it moves like a water bed? But Corey said he came in here the night after they did it and they were already laying down, so there was no issue. He was concerned they might lay in the alley or not want to step up on it, because before that they had rubber mats and they were getting older, so it was a firm step up, but now they're all accustomed to it and it seems to be working really well.
Really neat. Cool. I mean, that's human level comfort and like 20 years ago.
That's what I said.
What are these black and red tags that I see on the cattle?
Yeah, so we have 2 collars on the animals. One is the Vomatic collar that will read each one of the animals when they go into the parlor to be milked at this time. So it'll read which cow it is, it'll track how much milk she's given, it'll tell you if there's any reasons why that milk, if there's any issues or health issues with the animal. But basically that responder is tracking the cow, how often she's being milked, how much milk she's given. The other collar is an activity collar, so that's used in here to look at activity of the animal. How often is she up eating? How often is she laying down? What's her activity level? That can be used to help us earlier identify health issues. So if you see a cow that's very lethargic or not moving as much as before, it may be a quicker way for us to identify a health issue and try to address it early on. And high activity can also help with us with reproduction and timing of AI for the animals as well. So there's a lot of data that we collect both on cattle, the dairy cows' activity and on their milk production.
My second tip is ask for help. Don't be afraid to not do everything on your own. Ask your family and friends if they're willing to help you with anything that you might need, whether it's advice or just an extra hand setting a fence post. Friends are a huge benefit to have on the farm because you never know when you're going to need them.
So this is our double 5 herringbone parlor. This is where our cows are all milked. Double 5 means we can milk 5 cows on each side, so we can milk 10 total cows in here each turn. So we'll bring 10 cows in, we'll milk all 10. Once those 10 are done, they'll be turned out. The next 10 will come in until we're done milking. So this is the Vomatic parlor right now. We have students and some of our staff that do the milkings. We're milking right now twice a day, once in the morning and once at night. And again here, once the robots are up and running, we'll milk about half the cows through here and the other half through the robotic milkers. So that has the readers in it, so when they come through, these garage doors will be open while we're milking. When the cow comes through, that'll read the responder, and then on these boards here, it'll bring up which cow number it is, how much milk she produced, and collect all that data, and then that data will be recorded here, and it immediately transfers over to our Dairy Enterprise Manager, Corey Weigel's office in his computer, and so then he can bring up any cow, see how much milk she's given for every time she's been milked, how many days she's been in milk, and looking at when she might be dried off or maybe goes into her next lactation. So all that data can be collected through here each time they come through and are milked.
My third tip for you guys is do not be afraid to ask questions. There's no such thing as asking too many questions, and if you're new to farming, you're gonna have a lot of them. So don't be afraid to go around even to your neighbor's place. Ask what they do. Ask what people have done before you. And it's important to know why things are done the way they are today versus the way they were done 50, 70 years ago.
So here is our Borger screw press manure separator. So basically what this is doing is the manure from the dairy barn that was getting scraped to this end and in the pits goes into the holding tank, and then it's transferred over here underground, and then the screw press is separating the solid manure from the liquid. So now the solids are being separated and piled up here. The liquids then will go over to the manure lagoon and be held there. We'll bring in a skid loader, bring this out, we put it in windrows and we compost it with our bedded pack and other material to compost that down, and then we'll either sell that to local farmers and have them land apply it, or we're actually bagging it right now here on the farm as another business venture called Pioneer Gold, and we're selling it as compost to greenhouses and other people to use.
So this is one thing that I often tell people who are looking to start farming is that it's not just about farming, it's about finding different ways to make money, to make it profitable. And this is one way that it's just another business adventure, like you said. I mean, it's a great way to utilize every aspect of the farm to make yourself be more profitable.
Absolutely.
Has it been heated?
This has not, no.
Okay.
I mean, the most heating is going through the screw press process, but what we've found that works really well is we'll take this product and then we'll mix it in with the bedded pack or with the swine manure. to get a little bit more nutrient in it, and then when we start to turn that with our windrow turner, that'll really heat it up, and then that hopefully kills a lot of the pathogens or what other things that are in it, and it really breaks down. And honestly, if we have time, I can go over and show it to you. I mean, to see this compared to the end finished product, the end finished product looks like almost like a soil. I mean, it's a dark brown or almost black soil after it's composted. We'll dump it in here, and then we'll use this to fill the bags, and then we'll make pallets of bags here. And right now they've sold this to a couple landscaping companies, and they'll sell it to other people basically as finished, 100% finished manure compost from Pioneer Farm.
Cool. Yeah, it's not something I've seen too many times.
Yeah, so this is where we compost a lot of our manure here at the farm. So these windrows would be compost that came out of the dairy separator, manure separator, mixed in with other bedded pack and other manure products and swine manure from here at the farm. We windrow it like this because we have a compost windrow turner that we can drive right over the top of these windrows, and basically it stirs it up, and then that continues to allow it to cook and to break down. So after we'll do this for about 3 months, and they usually start by turning it about twice a week for the first several month or 2 months, and then about down to once a week, and then when it's done, we'll pile it up as a completed compost, and then we either bag it or sell it from there.
Yeah, there's a big difference there.
Yeah, you can see what the end product looks quite a bit different than what it looks like as it gets started. I brought it home last year for my wife for her garden. I brought it home, she's like, it looks just like dirt. I mean, it's a little obviously grainier than that, or a little bit more coarse, but it's got a lot of wood in it because we use wood shavings for our bedding, so there is a lot of wood in it, but it's broke down pretty well there.
My fourth tip for you is to always practice farm safety. Always keep an eye out for warning labels on equipment, and always be sure to read the instruction manual in your equipment before you operate them to know what the dangers are of each specific piece of equipment that you're running. This will make sure that you're not only keeping yourself safe, but others around you. This is where the calves come, huh?
Yep, so this is our calf facility, and students help manage most of this for us. So we start all of our calves in calf tail huts. And we'll keep data on them here from when they're born until when they're weaned. And then once they're weaned, this is the only point where they'll be in these huts. Then they're all grouped together based on age as they go through. So we raise all of our own replacement animals here at the farm. So every cow that you saw in the dairy, or every cow that's in our dairy that's being milked, was born and raised here on the farm. We don't purchase any animals. We raise all of our own replacements. On their tags, the first 2 numbers are the year the calf was born, and then the second 2 numbers are the sequence of that number born this year. So this would be the 34th dairy cow born here in 2021, or calf born here in 2021. Okay. So that's his numbering system. He numbers the first 2 based on the year born, and then each one going up from starting at 1, each number to keep track of. And so it's pretty easy. Whenever I see a cow in the barn in there, if she's got a 16, I know she was born in 16, and the earlier the number, the earlier she would have been born that year.
Makes it easier to keep track of which ones need to go next.
Yep. We get our case equipment here. We work with our local Ritchie's implement dealer. We get brand new case equipment from them that we lease for short-term use. So the tractor, the planter, the brand new equipment that we get each year from Case and Ritchie's. We operate it for a few 100 hours or as needed with the planter, and then they'll take that back and sell it as a gently used piece of equipment to local farmers. So it's been a great program for us. Allows our students and our staff to use some of the newest equipment coming out from Case, and saves us a lot of money on equipment costs, obviously.
It's a great way for students to learn their way around some of the newer technology with GPS and everything that's auto steer and all that fancy technology.
Absolutely. They get to see technology now, where before this partnership with Case IH and Ritchie's, we would have had quite a bit of older equipment here at the farm. We couldn't be updating regularly, but now we get new equipment, and it's been a real benefit to the farm.
Do you know how many tractors you guys have right now from Case?
Usually we have 4 or 5, maybe 6 tractors depending on the time of year. We have one that pretty much exclusively works with our TMR mixer every day for feeding, and then we'll have a couple other tractors on hand. There's certain times of the year where we need more than others, obviously planting and harvest, but usually we have 4 or 5 tractors, and then we'll get a planter every year, a combine every year, hay bine, some of the equipment that we need for everything to do throughout the production cycle. We're about 200 acres or so of corn We wouldn't have this kind of planter.
Yeah,
200 acres of corn if it wasn't for the case.
I bet it gets the job done quick though.
Oh yeah, once we get started, it won't take us very long. So yeah, we do a little bit of overkill on some of the equipment based on what we can get, but this is what they can resell, and it's just great that our students get to see and staff get to see this new equipment. I mean, this would be a new planter coming off the line this year that we get to use for planting. So
keeps them up to date with the latest technology.
Yeah.
My fifth and final tip for this video is to go to FSA and get a beginning farmer loan. Using FSA's starting loan programs, you can get really low interest rates to help you get started farming, and it can hopefully get enough capital together so that you can outright buy your first farm. These are your robotic milkers, right? You guys are just getting these installed. It's got an emergency stop button over there. That's interesting. So tell me more about robotic milkers.
Yeah, so we're in the process right now at Pioneer Farm of installing 2 Lely A5 Astronaut robots. So we'll have 2 robotic milkers here installed. We're working with Argall Dairy Systems and Lely here to install these. This will basically take our freestall barn, and half of our cows will be milked through the robots, the other half through the parlor. So the robotic milkers, as you can imagine, the cows come in on their own at their own time, and they'll go through the robots. The robot will then feed them some type of special feed that'll kind of entice the dairy cows to come in, and they'll come in on their own selected schedule on when they want to be milked. The robotic arm will go underneath the animal. It'll disinfect the animal. It'll then apply the milkers, milk the animal, pull it off, and everything will be completed, and it's all automated. So the only thing we'll be doing is potentially helping push up the cows to get them to come through the milkers on a regular basis. But other than that, it'll be completely and totally automated milking for the cows. So we'll set the interval of how often we want them to be able to come in to milk, and if they come in quicker than that, it'll just basically say, nope, you don't get any feed. She walks out, and then if she does, it'll drop the feed. Yep.
Do you have to manually fill the feeder?
Nope, it comes down in the auger and chute.
Cool.
But yeah, you'll notice if you pay attention, the cows, a lot of them are set like at 4-hour intervals. At that 3 hour and 59 minutes, the cow will be standing there. She'll come in, get kicked out, she'll just start doing circles.
She kind of knows when it's about time she can get back in.
Yep. And the next, about the third time, oh yeah, it's 4 hours, and that's all it has to be is 4 hours. So, and then it milks it.
Well, that pretty much summarizes the tour of the Pioneer Farm. Thanks for giving us the tour.
Yes, appreciate it. I'm glad everybody had an opportunity to learn a little bit more about UW-Platteville Pioneer Farm. Being a public university, everybody's welcome if they ever want to come out and get a tour or learn a little bit more about what we're doing here. So appreciate you coming today.
Yep, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
I hope this video shed some light on things that you can do to start farming, as well as show what the university farm has been doing to improve current practices that are done today. So anyway, that's pretty much it for this video. Thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to check out all of our other videos. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Snapchat. All how farms work. And be sure to let me know down in the comment section if you guys want more farm tips. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.